There's some interesting discourse going around with the Hawks at the moment because it seems like everyone can agree, whether it's fans, whether it's media, that the Hawks are only missing really one piece, and that is an A-grade midfielder. And I thought that I would throw in my 2 cents for what it's worth around the hunt because, look, the Hawks aren't out of the premiership hunt, as we know, and they did increase in my premiership pie. If you want to go check out that video that I did, well, would have been released yesterday at the time of this video being out. Very confusing continuity-wise for the Daz Talks Footy channel, let me tell you. Anywho, back to the video at hand is, I've got some really big thoughts around the discourse and also what the Hawks are going to do because there are a couple of attitudes that I can't really align with. Now, the first thing to talk about is the not in our age bracket discussion, which is basically centered around 2 players, Christian Petrarca and Zach Merrett. And what's really interesting about this is that I can kind of see where Hawks fans are coming from because of premiership privilege, right? So 1961, the Hawks won their first flag, but let's say that you were starting to follow footy in around that 60s mark, right? Very early on into you loving your footy, you saw 71, 76, and 78 as the 70s dynasty, right? If you started following footy through that 70s period, you lopped into the 80s and got 83, 86, 88, 89, 91. 5 flags in 9 years. Another incredible team. If you started watching footy in the 90s or early to mid 2000s, like I did, then of course you've been fortunate enough to see the 8, 13, 14, and 15. The Hawks flags have come in clusters. And I think fans are still stuck in that line of thinking. That this group, this core, if they are going to be on a path of contendership for a long period of time, then it has to be together. Then it has to be this group with this core, and don't take anyone in that's not going to be there 5 years from now. And I think that's not the modern way of thinking. I think that we are going down the path of past Hawthorn dictating what future football looks like. And the modern way that footy is being run is that is just not going to be able to be the only way to try to win a flag. Instead of trying to think, what's going to win us 3 flags or 4 flags in the next half dozen seasons? What's going to win us the next flag? And as an insurance policy, if the kind of young A-grade talent is not Hawk-bound, then Petrarca or Merrett or an A-grader that's 28 or older can still be your answer. This draft class is relatively weak. The Hawks have got pick 5. And look, even if that pick 5 turns out to be a star, the odds of it being a generational talent are pretty low. But let's just say that is a 250 game player. And let's say that if the Hawks do take the pick, it's a midfielder. Sam Cumming, Jacob Farrow, whoever it may be, Fred Rodriguez, whoever you want. They're not starting in Hawthorn's round 1 team. They're just not. Because we've got Cam McKenzie, Henry Huswaite. We've got depth in that area. We've got young depth. So what's the point? Now, sure, you could be thinking we could use that top 5 pick on a non-midfield talent, and I'll give you that. But again, where are they going to play? There is no position on the ground other than midfield that the Hawks don't have a piece that's not on their list. We don't need to draft a key defender. Noel Miraz is not playing. We haven't had a debutant this year. We don't need a tall forward. We've played 3. We've played 4. We don't need a small forward. Look at the depth we've got in that department. An 18-year-old may not necessarily be the answer. And look, the perfect fit out of Petrarca and Merrett is going to be Petrarca because we like our positional versatility. Petrarca can score. Merrett is a classy ball user, and I would absolutely take him at the Hawks in a heartbeat. I also don't think Essendon are going to let him go, Bombers fans, for whatever that's worth. But if Melbourne said, we'll give you a piece and Petrarca for that top 5 pick, I think a lot of Hawthorn fans are going to go, it's not going to be worth that. And look, I know that I'm the guy that overpaid for Barras. What I will say, and where I was 100% right about Barras, is the Hawks had Frost, and we had Scrimshaw last year play really well as key position defenders. We're now averaging 13.5 less points conceded than what the opposition is scoring. We're top 4 in the comp for points against. It's worked. And I just think the premium price tag in a weaker draft that they are going to look at Hawthorn's first selection, these clubs, and go, that's all. It would be the same if it was pick 10 or pick 12. The kind of unfortunate bit for us is that Carlton have been so bad this year that that's kind of where it's ended up. But if it comes to a point where the mature midfield A-grade talent is there, and if our roadblock is that pick, I still think we do it. Because if it gets us the next flag, awesome. And if in 2, 3, 4 years' time, whoever it is, if it is Petrarca or it is a Merritt, is no longer in the best 22, but we've got silverware, we've still won. Now, I can also hear the other part of this discussion becoming, well, what if we do that and we still don't win the flag? Which I get, but the other argument is, well, what if we don't do it and this core don't win a flag either? I think we're going to get too caught up in the will we, won't we? You look at the other clubs that are in the 8. Look at the 2 Victorian teams that are in the 8, Collingwood and Geelong. Collingwood have had father-sons. Geelong have done what they've done. But what they've both got in common is they have topped up and topped up and topped up, and they're going to keep giving themselves chances. We haven't had a back-to-back premier since 2019-20. We've got Brisbane, Gold Coast, GWS and Sydney with their academies that are just going to hog the top-end talent. Look what's happening in this draft. Gold Coast are going to get 3 or 4. Sydney are going to get 3 or 4. Brisbane are going to get at least 2. So at what point is it a case of, well, we can build this list and we can go on a 2 or 3 premiership run? All I'm saying is that a Petrarca or a Merritt could accelerate that. Now, is that the A plan? No. The A plan is Harley Reid or Zach Butters. Now, I'm of the opinion that I would much rather Zach. I think he is the more proven commodity, the youthful nature. We've seen more of what he is. It's less of a gamble because his A is a star. Now, the bit that Reid does that Butters doesn't, and a little bit like Petrarca does that Merritt doesn't, is score, that positional versatility. Harley's got a better means of hitting the scoreboard than Zach does. Butters has kicked 2 goals this year, but he is Port Adelaide's number 1 goal assist player and he's in the top 3 for score involvement percentages outside of their key forwards, because key forwards' disposals usually just are score involvements, either theirs or they're dishing it off. And look, I can understand the Harley gamble. I do. I can understand going, how are we going to pay that much money? Which, I don't think we will. If Harley is going to want to go to a contender, and it just seems like that is the case, if a move from West Coast happens, which, by the way, I don't think it will, but let's say it does. It makes no sense for him to go to a North or an Essendon or a Richmond, St Kilda. Apparently, they're going to be offering him a massive deal, I have heard. Don't know, and if that's already come out today, I'm going to look stupid, but that's okay. But they're going to overpay. The numbers that are in the media are not what a Hawthorn or a Geelong are going to pay for him. A, they don't have it in the salary cap. B, it would gut the list too much. Look what happened with Collingwood with Treloar and Grundy. Yes, they got out of it and eventually won a flag. I understand that. But they got out of it when those guys were getting older. Reid's going to be gutting your list at a 24, 25, 26-year-old level, which is not great if he's getting that $2 million, which is why I also don't think he's going to get that coin if he goes to a contender. Again, I would probably say he's staying at West Coast. That's where I stand there. But I think the Hawks are good enough now where giving up the draft capital doesn't mean much. It's a weaker draft. We're going to have pick 4, 5, 6, and then 22, 23, 24, which, yes, is going to get inflated a little bit by bids, but the top 20 doesn't have as many academy and father-sons as you think it does at this point. But at the end of the day, what we can't do on any level, no matter where you stand in this discussion, the Hawks can't play moneyball midfielder. Sam Flanders from the Gold Coast. No, thank you. No, thanks. I'm good. Anyone who is not better and genuinely better than Jai Newcomb is off the table. Now, is Harley better than Jai? I would say at this point, output-wise, no. And I think a lot of people would say the ceiling is probably higher. I'm not sure whether I agree with that or not. I love Jai. Jai's a best and fairest winner and a 2-time podium finisher. I love him. He's a star. But think of it this way. You've got Will Day hopefully fit next year. You've got Jai. If you can slot in a midfielder that's either better than Will or in the middle of those two, but Jai becomes your number 3 midfielder, he's one of the best number 3 mids in the competition. Hawthorn's midfield becomes dominant. The rise of Lloyd Meek, the defense which has held up so well, this forward line that has become even more dynamic. If we can find a midfielder who is willing to come to the club, who is either better than Jai now, Zach Butters, who has got the ceiling to have a better season than maybe Jai could next year, Petrarca Merritt, or you get the guy who could have that generational ceiling in Harley, I'm all in. And look, you can disagree with that. That's fine. But I think we are at a point, the first time since I've done this channel, where it's give up whatever you want. I did it with Barris. I was clearly wrong. But we could be one piece away from the next bit of silverware. And what happens beyond that next bit of silverware? Well, the ball's in our court that way. The Hawks are going to be thinking long term. It's why it's being reported we're after Butters and we're after Reed. Like, that's plan A. And it should be plan A. But discounting a plan B in Petrarca or Merritt just because of their age, and not because in the next 12 to 24 months we could win a flag with them, I think is foolhardy. What do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.